Hello, this is Annie, and I'm talking today about my site cafeastrology.com and the free report at astro.cafeastrology.com, which is my it's the free report section of the site. I'm addressing a frequently asked question about house cusps. Right now, I've generated a report, and I've scrolled down to the table of houses. These list, on this side we have the list of the planets. On this side we have the house cusps, the positions of the house cusps, the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, etc. houses. And many people will see something like this, where they see the same sign repeated on two houses. And they feel there's something wrong, that the chart must not have been calculated correctly, they think it's a glitch or whatever. And I've written an article about this to help explain how to read the chart house and explain why this is to be expected in most house systems, including Placidus, which is the default at this in the free report section. And as well, a related question when somebody sees something like this, where they see Leo on one house cusp, and on the next one they expect to see the subsequent sign Virgo, but instead it seems to skip to Libra. And they question, where is Virgo? It's not represented, it's missing, there must be something wrong. In fact, this is very common and expected with uneven house systems such as Placidus and most others. The only time you will see 30-degree houses and more expected progressions of signs and houses is when you're using the equal house system or the whole house system. But I'd like to explain this. First, I just want to note that when you're on a smaller screen, this table will actually be, here I'll show, reduce this. This table is actually found beneath the table of planets. But on a desktop, they're side by side. Okay, so at the bottom of my natal chart report in various different parts of the site, the free report site, I have a link to Understanding the Birth Chart Report. If you click on this, you'll find a lot of information about the free report tables and ratings and values, etc. But there's also a link to explain duplicated and missing signs, which is the subject of this video. And it's all explained here, but I'd like to just quickly talk about it in this video. Here we have again the Cancer on two different signs, in this case the fourth and the fifth house. When you see this, you're going to find the opposite sign also in the same position. In this case, Cancer, the opposite sign of Cancer is Capricorn, and you're going to find that on the opposite sign, opposite houses. So in this example, we have Cancer on the 4th. You are going to expect to have Capricorn on the 10th, which is the midheaven. When you have Cancer on the 5th, you're going to find the opposite sign on the opposite house, which would be Capricorn on the 11th house. And you'll also find the same degrees. This is also to be expected. 5 degrees of Cancer and 42 minutes is the beginning of the 4th house. And it's also the 5 degrees and 42 minutes of Capricorn is the beginning of the 10th house as well. So this article addresses it, the issue of duplicated or missing signs on the house cusps. in this case, the main explanation for this is that while signs are 30 degrees in length, essentially, houses are not necessarily, in the Placidus and many other house systems, they're not necessarily 30 degrees. They can be as little, they can be you can find a 15-degree house, you can find a 45-degree house, a wide range of house sizes. In this case, we have a relatively small house, the fourth house, because if you take houses as averaging 30 degrees, this one actually ranges from 5 degrees of Cancer to 27 degrees of Cancer. So it's less than actually 22 degrees, which is smaller than average. But in the next set, first of all, I'll just show you a representation of this on an actual chart. This is a table it's helpful to clarify and list the house positions, or the house cusps positions, to be more accurate. On the visual chart, you can see it a little better, and that is that the fourth house, remembering, first of all, that a chart begins at the first, when you're reading a house, the house of the chart, the first house begins here at the ascendant in the Placidus system, and you're reading houses like this in this direction. So the first house starts here, the second house starts here, the third house starts here. So in this case, the fourth house starts at 5 degrees Cancer, as noted here. Now, because we're using different software, by the way, just as an aside, there's 5 degrees and 42 minutes here, and here we see 5 degrees and 46 minutes. Now, this is a negligible difference between software, and the reason for it is because we're using the birthplace. Different software will use different coordinates for the birthplace because they don't fall at exactly precisely. For example, 43 north, 39, 79 west, 23 is somewhere in Toronto. It's not, but Toronto falls within a range of coordinates. And with different ranges, you'll get slightly different minutes after the degrees. So that's negligible. It depends on what you consider Toronto, the coordinates for Toronto. So anyways, in this case, we have the fourth house starts at 5 degrees Cancer and ends when the fifth house begins at 27 Cancer. So, and then you can see that Capricorn is at 5 degrees Capricorn. The 10th house starts at 5 degrees Capricorn, and the 11th house starts at 27 degrees Capricorn. Now, in this example as well, you'll see, as I mentioned before, Virgo is missing on the house cusps. And this is not a mistake. It's not an inaccuracy. And it doesn't mean that Virgo is missing from your chart. Every chart has every sign. It is just not represented on the house cusps. So in this example, we have the sixth house starts at 25 degrees Leo, as listed here. And it ends when the seventh house begins at 11 degrees Libra. Virgo comes entirely in between those two. And it is completely contained in the sixth house. It's represented there. It's just not, it didn't make it basically to the house cusp. And that's what is called an intercepted sign. We would say in this case that Virgo is intercepted in the sixth house. And with houses, always the opposite sign will have the similar situation in the opposite house. In this case, Pisces is completely contained in the 12th house, or intercepted in the 12th house. You don't see it on the represented on the house cusps.
And it's not a problem. It's not uncommon. It's okay to have this, and it's quite common to have this. There are meanings for this. You can look them up. Intercepted. Sometimes people will talk about intercepted planets and signs, and give interpretations for those. But we're not addressing that today. It's just, why is this happening? It's happening for a reason, and it's not wrong. The second part of this article goes into planets in signs that don't match the signs on the house cusps, which is another extremely frequently asked question, where in this example I'm giving for the 11th house, it begins at Capricorn, 27 degrees and 7 minutes of Capricorn. Now somebody might see this chart and say, well, we have Capricorn on the 11th house and Neptune is in Aquarius, not Capricorn, yet it is listed in the report as being in the 11th house. How is that possible? That must be wrong. When in fact it is completely accurate. And the reason for this is explained here. And basically, to summarize, we have the 11th house represented here. We can see that the beginning of the 11th house is 27 Capricorn and 10 minutes. The end of the 11th house is where the 12th house begins, at 25 degrees Aquarius, 31. Now in this case, 27 degrees Capricorn is pretty late in the sign, considering that there's 30 degrees in a sign. We're like just under 3 degrees away from the start of Aquarius. It's near the end of the Capricorn sign. So the 11th house starts late in Capricorn. 10 degrees of Capricorn, the sun, is before 27 degrees, so it does not make it to the 11th house. It's in the 10th house. In this case, Neptune falls at 3 degrees Aquarius, and that is after 27 degrees Capricorn, but it's also before 25 degrees Aquarius, so it falls completely within the 11th house. So here we have Capricorn on the 11th house cusp. Neptune is in Aquarius, and so is Uranus and the South Node. They're also in Aquarius, but they're considered in the 11th house, even though Capricorn is on the cusp. And this is normal. In this case, Aquarius is on the 12th house, and Mars is quite late in Aquarius. It's 28 degrees Aquarius, which comes after 25. So Mars is in the 12th house. So here we have Mars is in Aquarius, and so are Uranus and Neptune, but they are in different houses, and this is normal and expected. So that's all for now. The article explains a little more. It goes into more detail and also shows a table for reference, table of opposite signs, which is relevant to this conversation, and also shows the chart wheel. A visual helps, I think, to see the progression of the houses and where they are represented. But it is most important to note for both questions addressed today, these frequently asked questions, it's all about the answers. It's all explained by the fact that houses do not, in this system, the Placidus house system, they do not begin at 0 degrees. Some do, but that's a more rare event, where a house usually starts at a different degree of a sign, and the actual house size is not necessarily 30 degrees. And that's it for now. Thank you for listening. I hope this helps you understand the chart wheels, and I will try to do more tutorials or helpful videos for understanding astrology charts and the free report section soon. Thank you, and bye-bye.